Okay, here we go. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I wrote this book here called The Jossman Method. You can get it any damn where. I am 22,000 words into my second book, and that's like this one I think was like 19. So it's going to be like twice as long because I've got so much more shit I want to put in there. It's coming along, and I'm at the process right now where I'm putting out pieces of it, like rough drafts, trying to get feedback, trying to, see if anything's catching anybody's attention, if I'm missing any ideas, stuff like that. And I do that really in a loose manner. Like I'll post pieces I got a couple of intro sections on LinkedIn. I put it out there because I've got 8,000 connections or something. And, I already have people calling me going, "Hey man, I read that shit. It's awesome. I can't wait to read the rest of it." And that's super helpful. I mean, it's nice. It's nice to hear, "Hey man, good job." But that's not why I'm doing it. I'm putting stuff out there because I want to hear, "Hey man, you skipped this thing," or "This piece didn't really connect for me. You need a little more information there," or "Hey, where did you get this information?" That sort of thing. Anyway, I appreciate the good jobs. I really do. But the pats on the back. But please send any kind of negatives you have or questions. I mean, that's just going to help me. It's just going to make for a better end product. And that's all I'm shooting for. Just trying to get it to be fucking good. So that in mind, yesterday I worked my ass off. Like I wrote for like 6 hours, which, my process is not super defined. Like usually I set myself 2 hours or an hour to write. At the beginning of the process, it's how it goes. But it seems like as I get closer to the end, it consumes me. Like I get so into it. Like I'm just writing my ass off. And anyway, yesterday I had to take a break, and I noticed that it was nice out. Like it was like 62 degrees out, which for late October in Michigan, that's not bad. And holy shit, for the first time in 6 months, it wasn't raining. So got on my motorcycle and just started riding. And I ended up at this kind of swanky bar restaurant place, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna sit down and have a beer. My rule's one. I'll drink one, and then that's it if I'm riding, because I'll start missing gears and getting too let's go have funny about it, and that shit's fucking dangerous already as it is. So anyway, I sit down and have one beer, and I hear the bartender talking to this older woman sitting next to me. She's probably in her 60s. And, something they said caught my attention. So I kind of introduced myself to the older lady, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Hey, this is what I do. Or I started asking her questions. Hey, what's your story? She started talking about, and she used to be a teacher. I'm like, well, shit, I was a teacher too, so we connected on that. And she asked what I do now, and I told her, and she said she was super interested, of course, in this stuff. You guys know, I'm a contractor, and I run a recruiting company in addition to that, but this is really kind of my number one. Like, especially right now when I'm writing this book, it's hard for me to focus on anything else. It really is. Anyway, long story short, she starts telling me about her son, who is, I think she said he was 26. And this young guy still living at home, and only child, and she's a little older, obviously, to have somebody that, and I guess the husband's a little even older than that. And anyway, 26 years old, still living at home, doesn't have a completed college education. I think she said he's close to getting an associate's degree at 26. And I'm like, anyway, she asked me, she said, because of what you do, I'm interested in what you think about my son. Why do we have, and what I called it was a failure to launch. I'm like, she's like, yeah, I've heard that before. Why do we have that? And then she goes on to talk about all these things that she has done for him. That, she obviously has paid for the education that he's had. He's living there rent free. She's been paying for the lease on his brand new car. And she keeps saying these things as a way to, as she's saying them, I can tell that her intention with them is to show me how much effort she's put into her son and how she's done all this work to help him. And I'm not saying that stuff isn't help, but I'm sure you guys are picking up. You know me well enough to know now how I'm going to see this. Sometimes the best help you can give him is no help. And if at 26, if your issue is that he hasn't launched. I mean, shit, why would he? I mean, I know you have a beautiful home just based on the fact that you're sitting in here getting takeout. This is not a place people get takeout. It's a place they go on an anniversary dinner. You know, like, it's super nice. And, you know, the fact that you're paying for a brand new lease for him and, you know, all this, I'm guessing that there's probably some money there. And why would he leave? I mean, shit, probably a beautiful home, and he's not paying for his groceries. He's not doing anything. He can just exist. And, you know, I've talked on this show so much about that idea that when men do not have I talk about having a purpose, and this is obvious. This kid has a purpose void. They go one of two ways. They go into a kind of a sloth-like state where you just are lazy and a turd and don't do anything. You kind of head that direction. Or the ones with higher testosterone get very aggressive sexually and physically, and those are the ones who end up in jail. So guys take one of two extremes. They either become a couch potato or they get incarcerated and end up in the system. That's usually, you know, you head in one of those two directions, and obviously this kid's heading in the first direction. You know, he's going to just live at home. I mean, he'll live at home until they tell him he can't. And, you know, what I told her was, you know, you just have to, really, the what's going on here, and I've thought about it since last night, you mom have to become less selfish. I mean, you just don't want to feel like you're hurting your son. And what you don't realize is you can't see downfield that if I kick him the fuck out and make him make his own way, it'll be the best thing in the world for him. Like, moms can't see that, most of them, and that's completely great. I mean, that's how moms are. Moms are love me, hold me, warm place to land, all that stuff that we've talked about 100 times. And so that's what this lady is for sure. She's that nurturer, no doubt about it. She's probably great at it. But she revealed to me that the husband, the father of this boy, parents are still together. You know, and I told her this. I'm like, you know, that's actually the failure to launch thing is a lot more common when you have, you know, a single parent. A lot more common because he'll have been raised completely by you. But I guess the father had a blowout a couple days ago and told the kid, get the fuck out of my house. Which, well done, Dad. I mean, that's the best thing you can do for your son. And I'm not just tongue-in-cheek in that. I'm not just like, oh, fuck him, he needs to man up. I mean, there should always be that balance between the mother and father influence. Matter of fact, and then I told her this as well, that the influence of a mother and a father is a lot like a line graph. I don't know if that's what you call it, but the chart where it shows your mortgage payments over 30 years. In the beginning, it's like all interest, and then as time goes by, you're paying more and more principal, right? And I think in that graph, the interest represents mom's influence. When they're babies, of course, dad can't do much other than protect and provide. But as the kid gets older, dad's role becomes more and more important until I tell you in those teen years, dad is the most important. He should be 80% of the decision making, and by the time they're 20, it's all dad. You know what I mean? Like, dad is the guy who should be making decisions about what the kids are doing. What I mean by that is dads just in general are going to see this is what the real world is like. It's cold, it's harsh, it's going to be hard on you. So I'm going to be hard on you to make it so that this isn't so bad for you later. I mean, that's how dads think. I mean, most do. They, hey, buddy, you're going to wreck another podcast for me? You got to get out of here. Most dads do. That being the case, you know, I also thought about this. I didn't tell her this, but shit, you got to back your husband's move. If he said that to the son, you need to back him up. I bet you for years, you know, your husband was backing you up on the decisions you were making. She revealed to me that during this young man's teen years, I guess, you know, dad had a job that had him out of the house pretty much all the time. She also said that the kid's got some health concerns that he's got to deal with. And, you know, in my mind as a mom, you're just making excuses for him at that point. You know, I know that it's nice to be sensitive to those things, but they are excuses, okay? Excuses make it okay for you to suck at something. That's what excuses do. Explanation, sure, we can explain why it took you so long to leave the fucking house, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to leave the fucking house. You got to go off on your own, bro. I mean, this is exactly why, and as I'm writing the book, I'm talking more and more about this stuff, but this behavior is what's making men so much softer. And I should tell you this. I'm not super proud of this because I didn't really do it myself, and I'm proud. I like saying that I've done everything in my life myself, because most things I have. But when I was there was a time period for me between high school and college where I just had shit jobs, and I was living in a house with just my dad, and he came to me at one point and said, I'm like 19. So I'd been graduating from high school for 2 years. I wasn't going to college and doing anything. I was a turd. You know what I mean? Like, I had shit jobs. And anyway, I can give you lots of explanations for that, but that's not the point. He came to me and said, your sister, who was in high school at the time, we're moving to this other house on this date. And so you're going to need to make arrangements. Essentially, that was him saying, you can't live with us anymore. You need to go make your own way. Now, I can't go as far as to give him the credit of thinking, well, this is the best thing for my son, because that's not where his head was at that time. He just was in his own mind, and that's okay. But I will tell you that looking back, I couldn't be happier that happened, because that created my self-reliance, my independence that I'm so proud of, that I talk about all the time. I mean, everything I've done from that point has been me. I paid my way through college, both degrees. I started a career as a teacher and was successful. I started a business and have been successful. I've got another business that's about getting bigger, and then I've got this book and the podcast and all these other things that I do. They're all on me. Nobody's paying my way. Nobody's helping me. I do that myself, which I'm super proud of. But I wonder, had I not been basically kicked out into the cold, where I would have ended up. I wonder about that. What would I have ended up like? And my response to that was, within a couple of months, I basically got my shit together. I had enough. I got a job that I knew was going to pay me enough, and it was painting houses. That was the first time I started working in construction. I made enough to send myself to college. I figured, well, I don't have a place to live, and I don't really have a future. So going to college kind of solves both those things. So that's exactly what I did. I created a path for myself, and I spent 4 years doing it, and I got on now as a teacher, and I could support myself, and it was good. I look back, and that was uncomfortable, but he didn't need my permission to do the best thing he ultimately did for me as a father, as far as in my adult life. He didn't need my permission for that, and he sure as hell didn't need my appreciation for it. Now, I appreciate it now, but at that time, it took me 10 years to, maybe more than that, to look at what a big thing, how important that was for me. And that's what I told her too. I told this lady last night, I'm like, you do not need his permission to be his parent. And you definitely don't need his approval to do it. You don't need his appreciation for it. You need to know that you're doing the right thing and then do it. That's discipline. That's what discipline is. It sucks now, but it's going to be good later. That's what discipline is. So that's the finest form of discipline right there that you would be exerting to your son. And maybe he's 30 or 40 before he's like, can admit, you know what, that was the best thing for me. Maybe he is. But it's just like anything else. I talk about it all the time. You've got to get out there and fuck it up, because those fuck ups make you better. So if you don't do anything, if you don't make a move, if you don't go forward, then you're losing time making mistakes, which ultimately make you better. And people just don't want to do it because it's tough to leave comfort. It's tough to leave comfort. I told her this too. When you go through a national park, I think about Alaska when I was there. It has these signs that say, "Don't feed the animals," and I said, why are those signs there? Why do you think those signs are there? And she said, well, because they'll get in a habit of taking the food, and then they won't fend for themselves. I'm like, you're fucking right. Like, people are animals too. Just because we are aware of our feelings and have self-awareness and are, more frontal lobe-ish, doesn't mean we're not fucking animals. We are. We respond to, stimulus just like any other animal would. Yeah, I keep thinking about Pavlov. Some of you, the only time you ever heard the name Pavlov was in that Bare Naked Ladies song. But Ivan Pavlov was a Russian psychologist. He was most known for his work in conditioning. And the term conditioning in psychology refers to how you change behavior using, basically stimuli, like inputs. And his project, the thing that he was most known for, was he had this bell, and I'm going to misquote how this worked, but you'll get the gist of it. There was this bell that he would ring every time he fed this dog. He'd ring this bell as he was feeding him, or right before and during, or however he did it. But the bell was associated with the food, so eventually he could get the dog. He'd ring the bell, and the dog's mouth would start watering. The dog would start drooling, which that's conditioning in its most basic form. You can be conditioned to react a certain way to a certain stimulus. And that's a very simple form of it. But in the case of this dude who's 26 and living at home, he's been conditioned to not take care of himself, not support himself, not do lots of things that anybody else would have learned how to do if they had to. So sometimes you just have to make them have to. You gotta make them have to do it. Pavlov was a super interesting guy. A lot of intellectual curiosity. Like, he was really good at research, and he liked it, which I think is cool because I tend to research a lot of shit too. But I would tell you that this concept that we're talking about, the conditioning, essentially, it's what we're talking about with this lady in the conversation I had with her, certainly extends to what has happened in our society with all these federal aid programs, entitlement programs that have come around as a result of the COVID bullshit. People are still sitting at home not doing anything because they've been conditioned to do that. And in this case, it's not food or a bill. I suppose it is kind of food, but that money's coming in, and they're sitting around. And you just at your most basic level connect, well, if I just sit here, the money will keep coming in until the money stops and I have to make a move. So people aren't just going to go back on their own. They're not. Most people aren't. They're animals. They're conditioned to sit home and not do anything. That's what's going on. I'm telling you right now that my business in recruiting, I mean, it's been devastated by that policy. I can't move people around. I can't. Like, I'll get, 2 years ago, 2019, I made X amount of placements. 2020, I made half that many. And now here in 2021, I'm at half of that many. Like, it is shrinking exponentially. And that's directly a result of people being conditioned to stay home. And it's not just me. I talk to other people who do what I do in various capacities, and they say the same things. That, I remember talking to somebody about a year ago, said that she thought it was going to be a couple of years total before anything really comes back. And I'm like, shit, that's scary. You know what I mean? But that's how conditioning works. As sad as that is, that our government sees us that way, that we can't take care of ourselves, so they have to take care of us. There's strength in this idea that Pavlov created with the conditioning. You can find ways to make that great. If you're raising your kids, for example, I tend to believe, and I don't have kids, but I spent 11 years in the classroom teaching other people's kids, helping to raise other people's kids. I've been a coach for 15 years or more. Same thing, helping to raise other people's kids. And it's the same idea. I'm trying to get certain behaviors out of these kids. And whether it's academic learning, whether it's thinking for themselves, which is the big one, whether it's doing certain things on the football field, whatever it might be. You can use that conditioning to get that to happen. I think that in your development as a kid and even as an adult, if you want to improve yourself and make yourself better, you need two things. You've got to have reward, and you've got to have, I'll call them consequences. Really, consequences are both of them, but as you work towards something, there needs to be some positives along the way, right? And then they'll tell you that you need to head in that direction, right? You need to head this way. And as you work towards something, there are negatives, and they tell you to bounce back away from those things that caused you the negatives. Like, I look at my podcast, for example, and this is as an adult. I know what things are going to cause problems because I've said them. You know what I mean? And I've had the negative consequences. So I try to kind of stay clear of those topics if I can. I'm not going to not be honest. But I've realized what works and what doesn't. That's another reason why I told you at the beginning I'm sending sections of my book out, the new book, to get feedback. Because I want to see, all right, am I on the right path here? Are we going in the right direction? The way that's going to help all of you the most. I mean, that's really what it is. I think I have an idea what that is, but I need to hear from you. And with kids, for sure, it's exactly that same way, especially the younger they are. I mean, you know, you can tell them don't touch that damn thing, but if it's hot, when they do touch it, they're going to fucking learn. That's a negative consequence, and they'll never do it again. The stronger the consequence, the better the lesson. And on the positive end, same thing. I mean, I used to work my ass off I can remember in spelling when I was in elementary school to get that fucking gold star. And there was a chart up there on the wall with everybody who had the most gold stars, and I was always at the top. I was always number 1 or number 2, which I loved that shit. I could see it. It was an end result. It was a thing to work for. And I think still to this day, you know, I had lots of teachers who would give you props for being the first one done. So I fly through shit, like almost to a fault. Like lots of projects when I'm working in the garage or working outside, I tend to just want to bang, 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 bang until it's done. You know, I would rather work 15 hours today than stop at 8 and have to work 7 tomorrow. I just want to get this fucking shit done as quickly as I can. I kind of think that way. And I wonder if that was conditioned into me as a kid, or if I was just going to be that way anyway, and I just really loved how they did things when I was in elementary school. I can remember that. Thanks, Mrs. Osborne, Mrs. Thurston, Miss Thurston. You guys helped me on my path. Now, when it comes to men, we're the same way. You know, I think we're a more basic animal, certainly far less complex than women are. And I would tell you that, you know, most women understand how to create those positives for good behavior, essentially, and most women definitely know how to give the negatives for creating bad behavior, for bad behavior in a dude. But we will respond to that shit. And one of the best, you know, things that a woman can do is appreciate. Like dudes, like I told you from the beginning, they will follow praise. If you get praise for doing something, if you get appreciated for doing something, you'll continue to do it. I mean, that's at the core of most dudes. And that's how this conditioning thing works. You've got to have that idea. I mean, it's, as a woman, I hope you don't see your husband as a man, or as an animal, but we're all animals, you know what I mean? And I try to do the same thing if I'm dating somebody, I'll just do it verbally. Hey, I really appreciate that. Thank you. You know, if something's good, or hey, I didn't like that. You know, please don't do that again. Or this really bothers me, or whatever. And those conversations can be uncomfortable, but they have benefits forever once you have them. Because usually once you have that conversation, hey, I didn't like it, please don't do it again, then there will be fewer butts in the future. You know what I mean? You won't be butting heads on that. Yeah, conditioning. That's how it works. This poor lady, I shouldn't say that. She's the nicest lady in the world, and I don't have any reason to think that she won't be successful in this situation. She just has to give herself some perspective. She's got to be able to step back and go, all right, I know this is going to suck a little bit now, but in the end, it's going to be fantastic. And I don't need him to like it for it to be good. She's just got to get over that. That's it. And I would say, you know, and I didn't tell her this, but where's the husband stepping in? Yeah, he blew up and told the kid, get the fuck out of my house. But why isn't the husband working with the mother or with the wife and saying, hey, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to do. Like, I think that's where, you know, a lot of times where men struggle. Like, we're not great communicators. We know what we want usually, but getting across why we want it sometimes pretty difficult. You know, I talk about the thing with the bullies. You know, your kid, I told her this too. Your kid comes home and your son comes home and he's being bullied. And, you know, mom's going to want to march down to the school and, you know, get right in the face of the principal and insist that this be taken care of. She's going to call the parent of the other boy and, you know, just do all this shit that she's, you know, she's trying to protect her son. I get that. But do you want him safe or do you want him strong? Because you got to pick. You got to pick. And he's not going to like it. But, you know, most dads would go, come on downstairs. I'm going to show you some things. Get those hands up. And he's going to teach his son how and when to utilize violence to protect himself. I mean, that's a basic male skill. I think even women should have that skill. You should know how to physically protect yourself. And we're all, we live in a society that's exceptionally soft, incredibly weak. But that makes us targets. Okay, it does. The weaker you are, the more of a target you are. And those who are still strong, and especially, like I said, particularly those people who tend to veer to the right with the extra testosterone, they're going to take advantage of that. They're going to take bad guys take advantage of weakness. That's what it is. That's why they call it weakness. It's not strong, So you see the difference there? Mom wants to go and change policies and change classrooms and do all this shit to keep her son safe. Dad wants to make it so the son can keep himself safe. And that's that balance that, like I said, and in the chart, like I talked about with the mortgage thing, more of the mom keeping him safe as he's young, but very quickly it ramps into dad being a bigger role and helping him learn to keep himself safe and make himself able and be self-reliant and be independent and all these things that you fucking want to be. I mean, it's so fucking sad to me that this is happening in our world. As I'm writing about it, I see all the problems, the things that are not causing this shit, because ultimately you know how I feel about it. It's up to you to make your life what it is. Like this 26-year-old kid, like we can, from the mom's perspective, yeah, I'll tell you what to do with him. I'll tell you what to do, and I'll tell you it's going to work. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to make him able to support himself. He will support himself if he has to. He will. But from the kid's perspective, bro, you're fucking 26. Get your fucking shit together. Get the fuck out of your parents' house, for fuck's sake. 26? Really? And you don't even, you weren't even going to school that time. Like, I didn't go to college till I was 21. So 22, 23, 24, 25. So, yeah, like right around that age, I was just getting out of school and I was student teaching and I was doing these other things. And so I lived at home for a year after college, I think. Yeah, I student taught and then I did then I did a long-term sub job and I lived at my mom's house. And I mean, shit, that was good. I was making $28,000. I'm fucking making excuses for myself. Anyway, but I went off on my own, because I had things I wanted to fucking do. I wanted to have a girlfriend come over and us to have a little privacy. I mean, there were things that I wanted out of the world, and I didn't feel like I could do that at my mom's house, so I had become a grown man, and that's what I wanted to go do. Yeah, and I think that, I don't know. I just don't get it. By 26, your frontal lobe is complete. I talk about that a lot, but that it doesn't fully mature, especially in boys, until the age of 26-ish, which is the part of you that gets you past. That's where you have your complex reasoning, where when you're a little kid, if I offer you a dime and a nickel, you take the nickel because it's bigger. But when you're older, you can realize, that dime's worth more, so you grab the dime even though it's smaller. Complex reasoning, right? That's when all that's mature in your head, hopefully, and your long-term decision making, your delayed gratification starts to kick in, and you should be okay. But anyway, that's the conversation I had last night, and she was a really nice lady, and she's like, give me your card. I'd love to watch your podcast. So she'll probably watch this, and I'm sure she'll be fine. If you're listening, I didn't get your name, but you'll be okay. You just do this. Give him a step down process, something like that. Be like, listen, you know what? We're going to let you stay here until the holidays. But by Easter, you're off on your own. However you want to do it. Split it down. Okay, by this first of this month, you're going to be doing this. By the first of this month, you're going to be doing this. And by March 1st or whatever, we no longer are supporting you in any way, and you're on your own. And then fucking follow through. That's all you have to do. And it's the best form of love you can give him. It's the thing he needs more than anything else. And like I said, he's not going to like it, but you don't need his permission, and you don't need his gratitude. You'll know you're doing the right thing when he's out there and he's supporting himself and he's doing fine, because that's what's going to happen. That's what happens to all of us. You know what I mean? That's how it works. Anyway, this is the Travis Neville Podcast. My name is Travis Neville. I wrote this book called The Jossman Method. The working title for the new book is The Ideal Man. so far I've got a whole bunch of different sections about things that you should be if you're a dude. It's my feeling that, like with this young man, this 26-year-old kid, maybe he just doesn't know exactly what's expected of him as a man. So I'm making basically a manual for here's what you are going to have to do. These are the things that are expected of you if you want to be successful and respected and all that, and respect yourself. Anyway, that's where I am with shit. Growing this dope-ass, rugged, masculine mustache because I think they're fucking cool. I was always a big fan of Magnum P.I. I've always liked Sam Elliott. So it's also part of my Halloween costume. But I'm going to grow this fucker out and make it glorious and rugged and see how that looks. I think it might be a thing I can do. But watch for that in weeks to come. Also, I am finally dropping weight, which is good. Keep updated. All right. Hope in some way this show helped you to get your shit together. Have a great week.